Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Fanzone Podcast. We are, of course, joined as always by the regulars in Colin and Ange after a eventful Easter weekend. Obviously, two games to run through with you this evening, or if you're watching back on Spotify, two games we've got for you in store today. Obviously, we had an away victory actually against Exeter, and a draw on home soil against Cambridge. Games that have divided opinion, I think, over the Bolton fan base. People have got some very mixed opinions on the outcomes of those games. But we will crack on, and I suppose it's only right we start with your post-match reactions. So we'll go with the Easter weekend as a whole, and then divulge into some of the games, individually a little bit more. But what did you make of an eventful Easter weekend, Ange?
Can we just start with Chris's comment and agree with the nice trim, Ben?
Thanks.
We were just commenting on his new haircut before we came on air.
Let's stay away from Danny's comment now.
He took us. He took his inspiration from Aaron Morley earlier on today, apparently. So
Colin's just jealous.
Oh, I am actually.
Danny.
Sorry, I digress as per usual. So yeah, to be honest, I think Colin said it on the last pod that he'd have took 4 points. I think I assumed we'd get him the other way around. I thought we'd go to Exeter and pull a draw and then we'd win at home. That Friday match was hard, really hard to watch. I was on edge, proper on edge for most of it. But then I've slept and watched another game of football since then, so I can't really remember it that well. So I'll let other people maybe comment on that. And then Colin, who's probably got notes. Have you got notes, Col?
Yeah, I've got a few notes.
Yeah.
We'll let you not necessarily. I'm a little bit more better prepared. And
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've not got notes in regards to the matches. I think we want to try and look at the matches if we can over over a combined thing, if you will, because I think we certainly would have took 4 points before the start of the 2 fixtures, and I think I got quoted on the Wanderer podcast with Daryl earlier on today by saying when I said on a tweet that I was expecting 4 points, but just not that way around. I'm still pretty happy personally with 4 points. The performances are irrelevant, I think. I know it was hard to watch on Friday afternoon because obviously the second half was a bit poor, but at the end of the day we won, so that doesn't really matter. Yesterday, same again, really. We were minutes away from getting the win again, and it would have been another 1-0, which is always nice, clean sheet, yada yada yada. But again, disappointing performances. But I really don't think that really matters, to be honest with you. It's all about getting points on the board. And I think providing that you're not losing, we'll end up being there and thereabouts, I think. Because I think other teams are still, going through a bit of a tough spell themselves, aren't they, really? So I think that's kind of helping. And yeah, we've got a game as well. But
we looked a different side. Actually, just had a comment in. We did look when he made those initial changes, the first 3 subs he brought on. It did completely change how we looked, and Dan looked good. I was impressed with what I saw with Dan on. I don't know what day it is. Monday. He looked fast. He held the ball up well. He looked hungry. He was getting in good positions. I think he's had a bit of criticism, well, on everyone on Twitter, but I think that's the best we've seen of him. We've not seen much of him, which is why I struggle when people start criticising players we've seen little bits of here and there. But yeah, no, I thought he was a breath of fresh air when he came on.
I think squad rotations are very, very, very necessary in it. I mean, there's still a lot of football, to be played, and we will need kind of everybody in the squad, including Mbete, despite people kind of replacing him as Wanderers' new scapegoat for some reason. I don't know, his performances haven't been the best, but it's unnecessary.
We haven't got much choice, have we, really? So we need to get behind the lad. We've got no other options in that back line. and he's a kid and he's learning his business. And yeah, he made a mistake when he was tired. Everybody has. But I wasn't blown away by what I saw. But I'm not into this scapegoat business and this making him going out for him on social media. And like, why are you doing that to your own players? Have a chat in your group chats about it. Do you know what I mean? Do it. Slag them off all you want to your mates, but I just don't. I don't like it. It doesn't sit well with.
I think what's important with that, with social media stuff, and I think if I were the manager, I wouldn't have any of my players on Twitter or Instagram, in all fairness. But what you got to remember is that them type of messages and that type of stick, be it you're entitled to it because you pay your money and whatnot, it does find its way back to the players in some way, shape, or form, especially if it's constant as well. But
they've got family, they've got mates on there, they've got family on there, even if they're not on it. Like if that was my son, you're damn right, I'd be having like.
You'd be upset.
I'd be so upset.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We've gone on a bit of a tangent now. We're supposed to talk about.
I know what we're talking about.
It had to come in at some point. I think the overriding feeling on Twitter, and the majority of people are suggesting that perhaps the team selection was wrong and there were too many rotations. Liam BWFC has actually put a few comments on that I'm going to run through, and has put across quite a good narrative actually about why that was the case.
Ben, can we encourage people as well? Again, sorry, and obviously, Liam shared a few comments. Can we encourage more of that? I think we want as much quite an interactive podcast tonight if possible. So yeah, don't discourage that. More messages, the better. I think you agree.
Absolutely. Yep. You've been on the ball in recent weeks with the comments that have been coming in. We've been really blown away really by the amount of you tuning in every week to come and have a natter with us. But yeah, Liam said he put a tweet out earlier today. Actually, he said that Everett is currently the 12th longest serving manager in the whole of English football, and he's only been here 2 years and 284 days. And he said he's still very much learning the trade. He also followed that up and he said that he got it wrong with too many changes. Ultimately, he'll learn to do it the other way around, to start off strong and sub off rather than sub in when we're perhaps in desperate need of a goal or plays to make a difference. He also followed that up again and he said he liked Unlundaloo and defended him on Friday to Bolton FM, and he proved him right when he came on Monday. He said he's powerful. And that's absolutely.
I think with regards to his, sorry Ben, regarding his comment about the squad and starting strong and subbing off, I get that, but whatever he's doing, he obviously believes in his squad as a whole. So obviously he believes, and obviously rightly so, because he sees them all every day, that regardless of who they can bring in, they should be able to do the job. That's probably his thought process. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a mistake from a tactical standpoint. I think it's just his belief in the signings that he's made and the ability that a lot of the lads have.
And he admitted that some of them did not rise to that challenge.
That's why that's exactly why I'm saying it. Yeah, exactly that. So of course, I can keep saying that. If it says that, don't I? I've picked it up off him. Exactly that. I'm sick of saying it. I say it all the time now. I don't know why. Exactly. That's it, innit? He said exactly the same thing as what I'm doing with that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there are a few comments that say, and Bete and I think Shortire has been pulled into this conversation, that they aren't ready for this level. And, that might be a case. I think Everett, admitted that it was a risk bringing in the likes of Shortire, who aren't proven at this level, but you can see glimpses of their talent. And ultimately, in the January transfer window especially, you won't spoil for options on who you can bring in. There isn't money that can be thrown around on players. Players aren't often out of contract in January, and so you won't spoil for choices. It's a real case of strengthening in areas that are absolutely essential.
You're fishing from a certain pool, aren't you? I mean, we're lucky to be able to draw in talents from, and they are talents despite what people say in their opinions, from the likes of City and United and stuff, because of who we are and what we are as a football club. We are fishing from a specific pool.
Absolutely, and that's something important to remember when judging these players, that not only have they not really had much time to bed in and settle in, to ask that of a 19-year-old to be firing on all cylinders 3 months after they've signed in a team that probably play really quite progressive and, nice football for a League One side. That's a lot to ask of any player, never mind a 19-year-old. So just, on that note, just give them, some slack. And I know League One is, the Football League in general is unforgiving and you can't really afford to give slack out left, right and centre. But just remember that they're 19-year-old lads. And when you're taking onto Twitter and bringing out personal insults and criticising them so openly and so publicly that perhaps you just need to have a little bit of a word with yourself.
It's horses for courses as well, isn't it? So, playing against a bottom of the team, relegation, scrapping, big team, Shola's always going to get muscled out in that midfield. It's accepting that not every game's going to suit those sorts of academy players that have not grafted their way up from non-league or whatever. They've come through an academy side, and it's a different route of football, isn't it? So, I think Chris mentioned it. He's had a couple of exceptional games, and there are games where he gets found out, and that's why he's with us to try and improve that side of his game. That's why we take these players on loan, to give them some men's football.
Yeah,
and so they can get stronger.
Absolutely.
I think Chris has also made a good point as well. It's short-term memories with regards to Shola, and even you might say Mbete as well, because I know he's had a couple of good games. He had a good game at Peterborough from memory, and I think he played pretty well against Exeter as well. In all fairness,
goal against MK.
Yeah, exactly. So it's what's the word? It's recency bias, isn't it, when it comes to players and their performances and stuff. People just remember the last game, don't they, or the most recent few games.
Absolutely. So just something to bear in mind when bringing those players up in conversation. But one young lad that did impress, I thought, as you mentioned before, was Dan Lunderloo. Obviously, I think 23 years of age, on loan from Southampton. And I think I was made aware, actually, that there is an option to buy, or that is the incentive from the club come the end of his loan deal. And that's something I just wanted to touch on. Obviously, we've probably really not seen him at his absolute best. Everett said that Lunderloo was not at the races when he came to us. He was slightly unfit.
I think, I won't say we're unfit though, where I think the way we play, the what we expect from our centre forwards and the pressing nature of our game, it's a completely different, kettle of fish than what he was used to at his previous club. And I think that was the main concern with him. I think that's why he might have tweaked his hamstring because of that, because I think he was trying to work a little bit too hard and his body weren't used to it.
Yeah. Excuse me, absolutely. Wasn't quite up to speed. And we've probably still not seen him at his best. Obviously, he's suffered a bit with injuries. But I thought at Cambridge, he looked impressive. His physicality stood out. It's something that we've missed quite a bit. And, there's plenty more to come from him, I think. So my question really is, are you looking at that option to buy and considering that as an option, bringing him in next season? But also, where does that leave the likes of John Daddy Bodvarsson, who, in all fairness, are knocking on that a little bit and are out of contract in summer? What are your thoughts on that? Are you looking at that loan to buy option and thinking it's worth exploring, Colin?
I mean, if you're going off his goal scoring record since he's been with us, probably not, and probably his goal scoring record, when his previous club, probably not as well. But I think if it was up to me, I'd be looking at it, and exploring it as a possibility, because I think there's certainly a player in there. You can tell he's a bit raw and a little bit erratic in front of goal and in the final third. But like his movement, you can see his work rate, he's got that in abundance, and obviously his usage of the ball as well is very promising. His ability to be able to, it sounds like basic things, but shield the ball, hold it up, draw people into play, get involved a little bit deeper. all that type of stuff that you need from your centre forwards in certain games, I think it's definitely worth considering. In terms of how it leaves the rest of the players that we've got, Bob Varson, obviously Dion Charles is here anyway, and we've signed Victor. I think that will be our 4 in fairness. But again, it all depends on what division we're in, doesn't it, really? Could Bob Varson can play at that level. He's played at that level before. Dion Charles could probably make that jump. Obviously, won't score as many. I'd be confident with him. Victor, he's been playing in the Championship early on in the season. He's played there before. So the question marks really are around Dan or anybody else that we bring in, depending on what division we're in. So it's a difficult question to answer, but I think especially at EFL level, he's got a lot to his game that can be of benefit to us. Yeah.
Ange, do you agree with that?
I kind of echo a bit what Colin said there. That for me, that's a decision that it's gonna have to wait till we know where we're playing. I just think he's because he's 23. There's the potential in there for us to get something back for him in a few years, and it's whether you go with that in mind, because that seems to be the model we're trying to now work to, where we actually make some money from players.
I hope so.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Somebody comes in for Dion Charles and offers us like 5 or 6 million, let him go.
I mean, I after he's saying Saturday, after Monday, I would love to see Dion and Dan start, see how they get on, because I just don't think there was enough. The big men that started on Saturday, they would. It just didn't work for me. They're too similar. They play too similar. So yeah, no, I'm excited to see him. If he's hitting a bit of form now, then
he just needs a goal, doesn't he? He needs a goal. That one when he just thrashed it and it probably were ending into the top corner, to be fair to him. But that had gone in. It's just
was that the handball?
Yeah, I'm clutching at straws with that. I get the analysis on that, but I think we're clutching a little bit with that, because I think he kind of put his hands together, didn't he, as well? It weren't like unnatural position. I don't know. Whatever. It don't matter, does it?
But yeah, it definitely settles them, doesn't it? Getting that first goal settles them. And to be fair, when he's only played, I don't even know how many minutes he's played. Not a lot for us. It'd be good to get him on the score sheet.
It would indeed. Goals breed confidence. We've seen that with Charles, where when players drop off, it doesn't take them too long to find that form against once they've found the back of the net. And players, they don't lose that ability. And I think I'd mirror exactly what you've both said. I think, depending on where we are at the end of the season, depends on whether we explore that loan to buy option for Dan and Lundaloo that little bit further.
Yeah, that situation that we're talking about now, you can say the same for a lot of the players that we've got within our squad. We're at a bit of a crossroads, aren't we? And I think it's probably because of the type of contracts that we sign them on and whatnot. But there's a lot of them that I question whether or not they'd be able to make that step up, and the majority of them probably won't be able to be honest with you. So I think there'd be a big overhaul of players in the summer if we were lucky enough to get promoted. Do you think the club's planning for getting promoted this season? I don't know.
I think they'll have a plan A and a plan B.
Yeah, of course,
and then we'll see where we're at in there.
Yeah,
absolutely. It will be an interesting one to say the least, but I do think exactly what you said, Aaron. There'll be a plan A and a plan B.
There'll definitely be a keeper in both plans.
Yeah,
we need to be 2 keepers, don't they? Really, we need to be signing 2. That's why I remember we had one of the podcasts in the January transfer window. I was saying I was hoping that we'd sign a keeper in January, but it didn't materialise, did it? But yeah, I think that's going to be a massive position to fill, isn't it?
It is indeed.
If anybody thinks Trafford's coming back, you're dreaming, regardless of what division we're in.
Nah.
Yeah, it was. I think it's probably wishful thinking that Trafford will come back and join us for another season. I think we've been very fortunate to have him for 2. And we're wishing well in his career, because he's got a big future ahead of him. Looking at the league table, we have a game in hand in some of the teams around us that are fighting for those playoff spots. Obviously, we're still in a good position for the playoffs. And looking at some of the fixtures for other teams, it could possibly be said that we have the better run or the more favourable run in towards this business end of the season. If
I don't get that. I don't understand that mindset. Like and I see it all the time, like people analysing fixture lists and who other teams are playing and possibilities and whether it's a good running or bad running. It's bullshit. Like two things really. This league is unforgiving, and we should really be aware of that already, given the fact that we're in it and we're, trying to get out of it, and it's difficult, and we're not always winning games, i.e., like yesterday. But it's like it's just not as easy as that, is it? Like we're coming up against teams who are scrapping for their lives, and other teams are as well. And you can't look at fixtures and go, "Oh, that's an easier run than the others." It's loaded. I mean, I don't buy into it. I know other people in the chat would be able to tell me whether or not they do, and you two and what, but I don't buy into that fixture, easiness and all, whatever you want to call it.
No, I don't either, Colin. It's every game. I take it every game as it comes, and I never go into a game thinking I'd ever think we're going to win.
No.
I just. I
think often people forget who they support. You know what I mean?
We're Bolton Wanderers. We can't.
If we're Arsenal or City, I get it, but Christ almighty.
But no, certainly, especially playing, like you say, those ones that are kind of down the bottom fighting for their lives. We know what we've been, that club. Do you know what I mean? We've thrown that spanner in and we've stayed up on the last game of the season. It's like, don't write anyone off. This is such a tough league to get out of. So hard.
It is indeed. On the flip side of that, really, I suppose it is now all in our hands, though. Our path to the playoffs solely relies on us. We are now in a position that as long as we play our cards right, then the playoff spots one of the playoff spots will be ours. All we have to do, as simple as it might sound on paper, is win games. I
made on my notes before. Sorry, Ben. I made on my notes. I put that it's still a game in our hand. Get our heads down, keep picking up points, and I do genuinely think that as long as we aren't losing, then you'll be in the mix come the end of the season. Although there's a good strong chance that because other teams are going through a bit of a funny spell as well, like us, then it will go towards the last game of the season, or certainly the last couple of games of the season. So be prepared for that.
I think that what Dan's just said there is, I think Ian's learned a lot in his short time with us, and where he would have previously not admitted that maybe he didn't make the right selection to start yesterday. I think he knows, and it's like when there was an interview, was it today or I don't know what day it is, where he said he might have to think about bringing Rico and Owen back earlier than wanted, because depending on how results go, I don't know. I just think he's not that stubborn, hot-headed manager we had.
Well, you get that. I mean, Rico's a huge miss, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Massive, yeah.
It's clear as day, and I think I stated on Twitter. I do think that the 4 weeks initial diagnosis was kind of worst case scenario, I think, from the club's perspective. I think they always intend on getting him back, within a couple of game weeks, I think, from what I can tell. You can kind of tell with Ian Everett's tone as well on that one. I'm not saying it's the same with Toll. I think that obviously looked like a pretty bad one.
It was so swollen after that when he sat in the changing rooms behind Marcus. It looked nasty. I can't see Toll coming back, but maybe they're just being over cautious with Rico. Fingers crossed, they're just being over.
I do hope that people can now see how much of a miss he is, though.
Absolutely.
I think more so because Georgie J is playing out of position. He can't help Luke the same. And I just don't think, it just worries me. There's no presence in the box either, is there? When there's a corner or a free kick or whatever, we've got no height. We're like a midget team.
Yeah, don't be surprised if MJ gets back into the side, certainly like away at Burton and stuff of that nature, because he'll offer a little bit more physicality, won't he, at the set pieces. Probably against Oxford as well, because I think they pry on the set pieces as well, from what I understand. I'm sure we'll get onto Oxford in a bit, won't we, Ben?
It is our next point indeed. Obviously, Oxford is the imposing fixture. It's well on its way. It's right round the corner. A team fighting for safety, as we've said before, along with many others that we are yet to play. Currently sitting 2 points above the drop zone. I think they have a game in hand on MK as well, who are 2 points above them. So they'll be looking to sort of leapfrog them and put them in the position that they're in currently, not far from the drop. I think their new manager has drawn every game he's managed for them so far.
Is that the last four, that then?
Say again?
Is that the last four fixtures, is it?
I believe so, yes.
I had a quick check before, yeah. I did a little bit of research, Ange, beforehand.
Well, that one was actually from
Thank
Danny.
God.
He put it in the
I know
comments.
someone did.
Yeah, that one was actually from Danny. He put it in the comments, so I stole that one from him. So
this is why we're interactive.
That's it.
Indeed, it is. Indeed, it is. So there are no easy games on paper in this league, as we've said, but this one certainly doesn't look like it's going to be an easy game. What are you thinking and feeling heading into a away trip to Oxford, Ange?
Already nervous.
On Tuesday.
I'm always nervous. It's because we're doing the pod. I'll forget about it come till Saturday morning. But yeah, I every single game is like a cup final. I said this last pod. We have to play each game like a cup final. We just battered Plymouth 4-0 and did know what we're doing. Get heads back in the game. Forget who's not there. Concentrate on who is there. Get behind the boys. If you're going to Oxford, part-time fan here who's not going. If you are, get behind the boys. We know that away following is always good and you're always nice and loud. But yeah, I'm expecting a tough match, and I think was it Chris Dawson who put Charity Wanderers might make an appearance with that whole draw on the last four thing.
It'd be nice to stay away from that. But Colin, what are you feeling heading into Oxford?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tricky fixture, isn't it? But as we've said, they all are. It's especially when you're playing teams close to the bottom, as obviously we found out yesterday. And I do think they turned a bit of a corner as well on the Liam Manning, who was the manager at MK Dons last season. I think he's a good young manager, isn't he? So they'll have them well prepared and kind of know what to expect. They'll probably do, despite the fact they're at home, probably do what Cambridge did and sit in and make it difficult for us. And I think when teams do that, are we better away from home? Probably. Are we better not when 25,000 people are saying, kick it long, what are you doing messing about with the back? And all that bollocks. Probably, yeah. Because obviously they can sit in and then we can start pulling them to pieces and we've not got the pressure of the home crowd, yada, yada, yada. They have drawn the last four. I checked that. And they're quite low scorers as well. I think they've only scored 2 goals. So I think that's Liam Manning obviously is focused on keeping the ball out of the net as a priority for them to try and keep them in the league. And I think so far it's working for them. It's just the same old stuff, isn't it, really? Just when you get a chance, you've got to put it in. And once you get that one, especially if we score early, then it's probably going to be game over and we'll probably bring up with 3 points. But, Dion Charles will start on Saturday, I would imagine. I don't think he'll be rested.
I literally said what somebody tweeted and I was like, if Dion is fit, he starts for me. He has to start.
Yeah, the other one's a tricky one, isn't it? We play alongside because we've touched upon Dan, haven't we? And he played pretty well, didn't he, when he came on? Does he go with him? Does he piss about too much with his forward line? Do you stick with Victor and Dion? It's a tricky one, but yeah, I think Dion will definitely start.
Absolutely. It'll be an interesting partnership, whoever it is up front. But I think one, statement piece up there will be Dion.
Massive fingers crossed. Massive fingers crossed. We've got Kyle Dempsey in the squad.
Yes, that would be nice. A very important player, and we'll wait to see what the outcome of that situation is.
We won't be discussing that, will we? For legal.
No, one that we'll stay well clear of.
We'll just say that for now.
Yes, absolutely. Oxford, though, a team, as Colin said, that don't concede much and don't score much. A pretty neutral team, but one that have held teams like Peterborough and Sheffield Wednesday to draws. not too long ago. So it looks like what will be a difficult fixture, one that perhaps will be frustrating. And how do you think we deal with that? What do we need to do in order to overcome the challenges that Oxford are going to put in front of us? I think perhaps a low block is inevitable, and the frustration of not anti-football as such, but running down
No
the
such thing as
clock.
that.
It's fighting for your life football, isn't it? It's
no
not
such
letting
thing
the
as that.
ball in the net football.
I hate that. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you play. If you're picking up results, it's irrelevant. I don't buy all that anti-football bullshit. And the
we just struggle. Like, it don't matter who we put on that pitch. We struggle with a low block. End of. And we've just got to find a way. That's all we can do.
Like I said in my last bit of a comment earlier, you just got to finish your chances, haven't you? You know, when you get that first chance, it's just got to go in. And once that happens, and as I said, I do think, you know, we'll probably play MJ. I think he'll probably come into the team, I would imagine, for that bit of physicality and that height, because I think they do focus heavily on, rely on as well, the set pieces.
Which we should be doing now. We scored from 2 corners in the Papa John's. Like, let's get some set piece conversions going in. If we struggle with low blocks, let's just get a few corners going or whatever. Mix it up.
And do you think there is a specific player that is the key to unlocking this Oxford side? Do you think there are specific players that are going to be critical to opening up an Oxford side and playing the way we want to play?
I've literally, I think, just said, we just struggle. Maybe Dan. Maybe Dan's the key.
Connor Bradley and Declan John again.
I enjoyed watching Deck on Monday, actually, to be fair. I thought he had a cracking game. And he wasn't well on Good Friday, which when he got subbed, I think I was a bit, oh no. But yeah, no, I agree, Colin. Connor's
use the wings, get chalk in your boots, stretch them, pull them about.
But Connor looked absolutely done in after Monday. He was literally on his knees at the end of the match.
Yeah, he'll be fine for Saturday though. He'll have a rest. He'll be fine. Play Kieran Lee, get him in behind, playing just off the defenders, and find the gaps in behind, stretch them, use the pitch.
Liam's got a good point. Catcher for getting us a free kick on the edge of the marks.
Yeah, exactly. Catchers are fantastic at that, and he's been doing it all season, not only the last couple of games.
It's his specialist area.
He just uses his brain, doesn't he? He's playing at a high level, hasn't he? And he gets it, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
So obviously the business end of the season is upon us. It felt like, a few episodes ago we were saying we were heading into it, but it feels like now we are very much there. So what are your feelings as we're in this business end of the season? I suppose everyone's ambitions really is the playoffs, but what are you looking to see heading into this end of the season? I think for me, it's a case of resolve and overcoming the challenges that are going to be put in front of us, and not resorting, I think, as we have in some instances, to playing into the hands of the opposition. I think games like Sheffield Wednesday away, where we've gone and played our game and actually gone to places with the intention of dictating the game and how it's going to be played, has gone in our favour, extensively. So, Colin, what are you wanting to see from the lads and the group as a whole in these final few weeks?
I want to see them believe in themselves. I want to see them the repetition. I want to see them stick at what they're good at, stick to what they know. Don't just shoot. I know people say shoot, like create spaces, wear your team down, create opportunities, create space to score goals. Don't just shoot, unnecessarily. I just want to see them just do what they're good at, Don't, like you said, don't eat into the hands of the opposition. Finish his chances when you get on. And believe in themselves like they did at Wembley, and the likelihood is because of the fixture list, because it is better than others, and we'll probably come out on top if we do that.
Ange, do you agree?
There's not much to add, really. To be fair, I think our best option of finding those pockets of space is Dempsey, and I think we're a much weaker side without him on the pitch. For me, I would like a bit more keeper tested. I know Colin said don't shoot for the sake of it, but sometimes I think let's just test him a little bit. Let's not try and walk it into the net. Let's at least shoot from inside the box.
I'm just on the other side of that fence, but I get it. I get why people think it, and you don't shoot, you don't score. At the end of the day, I get that, but
yeah, and there's always a chance of a spill and a second ball or whatever, isn't there? There's always that if you've not had a shot, you haven't got the option, have you, of a fluky spill out or whatever. But yeah, I know.
But we score so many late goals throughout any season because of the way we play, and the reason why we play is because we want to wear teams down and knacker them out. And they were knackered on yesterday. They were out on the feet, obviously, before they scored their equaliser. You could tell they were. That's why.
So were we. That's why we ended up conceding. And I just think if you're gonna play that game where you're knackering them out, you've got to have Dion Charles on the pitch from minute one, because even Capture, because they just running rings around him, and they're your players that absolutely knacker, because they're like Duracell bunnies, aren't they?
Indeed, they are, and there'll be a number of players I think that are key to cementing these playoff spots. And obviously, if we get to the playoffs, which I'm pretty confident we will, but once we get there, a whole new conversation opens up for how best to approach those and go about.
Can I ask a question to the chat? If we got into the playoffs now and it ended as it is now, in terms of teams in the playoffs, who will we want to play? Who will we want over the two legs?
Plymouth.
Plymouth. Are they third? They're not third, are they? They're second, I think.
Are they not dead? Are they back? I thought they got down to third.
I'm not sure. I can't see them.
Derby are out of the playoffs.
They had dropped into third at one point yesterday.
So they're second at the minute, but only by a point.
So it'd be Ipswich.
I don't want Ipswich.
Barnsley.
They need to straight up them.
Ipswich, Barnsley, and Peterborough, as it stands, are the team above us.
And we were pasted Peterborough and Barnsley, aren't we? So and Plymouth. So do you know what? I back us.
So that's what they need to be thinking, innit, when they go into the games, how good they are, because the teams around them, they'll be confident about moving against beating them, won't they?
Yeah.
Indeed.
Liam thinks we can still get 4.
Is an absolute
saying Peterborough.
Yeah, we've had some comments in. I think the overriding sentiment is that Ipswich aren't the favourable choice. I think they're probably the best team that I've seen us play this season.
Although I do think though, with the Ipswich game at home, if we weren't dead on our feet after so many games and they were so jaded, I do think we'd have given them a lot better game than we did. I think there was a massive contributing factor to the fact that they looked knackered, our boys, in that game. And that was evident against them early on in the season, first game of the season when we drew against them. Because we, in part, we were the best side against them that day.
Indeed, we were. And I think that the away game as well was very much a game of two halves. I think
that's what I'm saying, yeah. That's what
excellent.
I'm saying.
It's a lottery though at the end of the day, and we can look at the table as it is and say, oh, we favour these, but
any bugger could be in that playoff zone by this. Do you know what? It's so tight, isn't it? So tight.
It is. That the race for the playoffs is.
It's progression, though, isn't it? It's progression from where we were last season.
Absolutely,
That's all we can really ask for, innit? I know, obviously, there's I still believe there's an expectation within our fan base, and I mean, for the older ones, I kind of get it, but from the younger ones, I certainly don't see where they're coming from with their expectation. But
because we've done now.
Yeah, but I mean, there is an expectation, and it's a tricky one, isn't it? It's a tricky one.
It is indeed. I think from last season, I think we're 5 points off where we were with 6 games to go. And obviously this season, one of the big talking points will be that Papa John's Trophy win. So those incremental games that we often talk about on the podcast, are imperative. And as long as, we see those, then, I mean, I, for one, I'm relatively happy. But I think we'll certainly be disappointed should we miss out on the playoffs this season.
Sorry, I'm going on to this again. David's put it'll be Wanderers v Peterborough. Derby will miss out, and the other one will be Barnsley v Plymouth. So that'll mean that, there we are, Danny said it'll 3rd v 6th and 4th v 5th. So that'd mean that we'd need to finish 4th, is that right? For us to be playing Peterborough if they finish 6th.
If they stay in 5th, yeah. Or
5th.
Yeah.
Because I like the sound of Peterborough over 2 legs. I can't deny that.
Yeah,
I do. I don't know why, but I do. I think we'd be booking our Wembley trip again. I think if we had them over 2 legs.
Well, I think we've took 6 points from Peterborough so far this season and 4 from Barnsley.
The Barnsley one's a bit of an anomaly, though, isn't it? The away leg, they went down to 10 men. I think we'd have I went with Chris. I was confident going into that game anyway, so I think we'd have probably got a result, but I don't think it'd have been so convincing if they had 11 men.
Absolutely.
I'm throwing your agenda off the tangent here, and I can see you trying to keep to your
we're almost wrapped up. To be fair, it was, the ending point was always going to be how we're feeling heading into this final few weeks of the season and where we expect things to finish up and how we expect to fare. And I don't think there is a right answer.
The answer is que sera.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Expertly put. Whatever will be. But hopefully...
That's right, innit? No one's breaking into that top 4. 5th and 6th.
It's tough to see. I mean, there's a 10-point gap currently between us and Barnsley, who's sitting 4th, and it's hard to imagine that ground being made up over the course of what is 6 games, is it?
Liam said 7 points.
7 points.
The 7-point gap? 10 points.
Between us and Barnsley, it's a 10.
Do you know what? We just need to be in the playoffs. It don't matter where we are because we'll beat whoever we get.
Micro-analysing this, isn't it? We're
all overthinking. We're all in our own heads at this moment in time.
It is. It's a tough one.
Good though, isn't it? It's exciting, isn't it? It's exciting. This is what we want, isn't it? This is what we were kind of hoping for at the start of the season, to be in the playoff picture, and this is exactly what we are. For the younger viewers amongst us, the playoffs are shite. I'll be ready for that. Just as and when we do get into them. Shit.
It is an exciting one.
One thing I do hope, actually, I hope we get somebody with the biggest allocation possible, so then people aren't mourning they're not getting tickets.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be good, wouldn't it? Like if we did get Ipswich, we'd get a good allocation, wouldn't we? Because they've got a big stadium.
Yep, indeed. It'll be an interesting one, and I suppose, as I just said, it'll just be it'll just be whatever will be. No one knows.
It will.
I think the messaging to the players will be to just take each game as it comes. Everett said a number of times over the course of the season that they focus on themselves, and of course they'll keep an eye on the table. They're not daft, but their priority is making sure that they do their business and get the job done, and the rest will take care of itself, so to speak. But on that note, that is just about all we have time for today. If you did join us halfway through, or perhaps you're looking to catch up on some of the other episodes, then you can do exactly that. Whatever platform you get your podcasts on, you can watch back on YouTube, or you can listen to us over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And as always, if you are looking to get your hands on some wonderful Bolton gin, then you can do exactly that. If you head over to their website and use the code Fanzone10, you'll get a nice little 10% off your order.
Can I ask something as well? If you're new to the podcast, comment below and let us know, because I'm intrigued to know how many new podcast people, listeners we're getting. Because I can see, obviously, we've got our very, we're very grateful for our regulars. Of course we are. But, it'd be good to get an understanding of how many people are new to it. Because, it's always worth a bit of bedtime reading from my point of view.
Absolutely. If this is your first or second, maybe third podcast, let us know.
Yeah.
Obviously, the regulars, we know you all maybe a little too well.
Just say hello if you don't normally comment. It's nice because I literally only see people if they comment. So just give a little wave if you don't.
If you're watching and haven't commented on one, just drop a little, hand emoji in the chat or something. Drop a little hello so that we know you're here.
Careful which one you pick.
Certain ones will be aimed at each one of us individually in a certain way. Ben will get a certain hand, and I get a certain hand, and Andrew gets a certain.
Nothing I'm not used to. Don't you worry.
Benjamin.
But yeah, drop us a little message in the chat. And if you are looking to catch up on some of the episodes, go and have a watch on Spotify. Leave us a rating over there. But also follow us on Twitter. A lot of stuff goes on over there. You can catch all the competitions that we do.
Ben absolutely loves giving money away on Twitter.
I do.
Loves it.
Love it. I can't stop it. Every week, every game, every league game. Terms and conditions apply, obviously. Every league game, you can join in.
There's no more cups left, Ben. No, is there?
Yeah.
We're not doing it next season.
Well, the playoffs might be involved, and I don't think we're doing it for that. The rollover hasn't been scheduled to roll over into that. So
no, it's not.
If you are keen on getting your hands on some free money, then get yourself over to Twitter. I think there is currently 20. Well, as of Saturday, there'll be £25 ready to be claimed. So get yourself over there on Twitter.
Christopher, we do Facebook.
We do Facebook. We're live on Facebook right second.
Now.
Don't post much on there, which I think is what he's referring to. That's because people over on Facebook tend to be of a less.
No, stop.
We're refrain from saying what we think.
Rein it in, Ben. Rein it in.
That is all we have time for. We will catch you in another episode. You can join us on Sunday at 7:30, and we'll be reviewing the Oxford game. But until then, take care.
3-point pod.
Busy few weeks for pods as well, folks. We've got another congested few weeks.
Sunday, Wednesday for a little while.
Bore you to your heart's content, won't we?
And on that note, we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.
See you in a bit.
Bye-bye.